and get the tea from me. LVB. Hey everyone, and welcome back to What's the Gossip, and today I'm joined by Hollyoaks royalty. His name is James Sutton and he's bloody gorgeous.
Hey!
Hey Trouble, how are you?
Look at you with that fantastic trendy beard. Jesus.
Can you not grow one?
No.
Oh, you poor thing. How's lockdown treating you?
Yeah, you know, kind of like most people, I think, up and down, you know.
What have you been doing to stay busy?
I've been working.
Doing?
For Hollyoaks.
Huh?
We've been filming.
I thought you died.
Died?
Didn't you drive off a cliff?
No, no, I'm fine.
I thought you left.
Yeah, I went back to the show right before I went away to do some theatre for about, how long did I leave for? I left for about a couple of years, 2-3 years. And went away and did some theatre and stuff for a couple of years. I did a play in New York, bits and pieces, and then came back to the show. I came back in September, and then we went into lockdown when did we go into lockdown? March, April. So yeah, I was really, really lucky. So I've had work all the way through lockdown.
Wait, how many times have you left Hollyoaks?
Twice.
You're always leaving. So let's rewind. When did you decide you wanted to be an actor?
I was like most kids, I think. I had loads and loads of energy when I was younger, and nowhere to really kind of use that energy and you know, an outlet for that. And you know, the 6-week summer holidays were really difficult because my mum was on her own when I was a kid, and so she sent me to the theatre and was like, "Just go and do something. Just go and fuck it. You know, just go and annoy somebody else, basically." So I did. I went and annoyed the people at the theatre, and then people clapped when I was on stage, and they seemed to enjoy it. So I thought, quite like that. Fancy a bit more of that. So I just carried on, really. I went to drama school. I went to Welsh College in Cardiff. I got a degree, all that good stuff. And then, yeah, just started working, and I've been really lucky. I've kind of not stopped really since, which has been really, really cool.
So what was the first thing you did?
There used to be a drama called Trial and Retribution. It was a Linda LaPlante drama series. I think it was on ITV or BBC One. And I did an episode of that where I had to kick an old lady to death and set her on fire.
It's like that night out we had in Coventry, isn't it?
It's very, very similar. There's a lot of old ladies getting set on fire in Cov, let me tell you. But yeah, I actually, the cool thing was because we'd always been told, you know, throughout our training that, you know, the industry's really, really hard, and to kind of expect that, you know, you're going to have a lot of time where you're out of work, and you need to know how to manage that. And it's as much about managing yourself as it is your career kind of thing. And so, you know, I'm kind of believing that and going, yeah. And then I went to pick up my results for my degree, and I got my results, and that's okay. And as I walked down the stairs, I got a phone call from my new agent saying, you got that job. You start filming next week. And I was like, this is fucking easy. Like, what was I worried about? What were they telling? This is like, I don't have to worry. There's loads of work out there.
Were they like, you need to bring your own matches?
Yeah. Bring your own petrol. But yeah, so I got my first job the day I got my exam results, which was really cool. So I moved to London and yeah, just started working really.
So when did you break the good news to everyone that you were going to be setting old ladies on fire?
I think I waited until I waited till it went out on air. I remember sitting around with my parents and watching it. And Mum being like, "Oh God, this is very violent, isn't it?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I can't always play nice guys, Mum. You know, I can't always be, you know, the Scarecrow in the Wizard of Oz and fucking, you know, all that kind of caper." But yeah, it was good. It was you know, it was a nice introduction to the industry. And obviously, you know, I'd always done theatre, you know, before, you know, kind of growing up and stuff. So TV was quite a new thing for me. And it's up until only a few years ago, when I took some time out of Hollyoaks to go and do some theatre. All my career's been TV, all of it. You know, dramas and I've done a couple of movies, and I've done Emmerdale and Hollyoaks and stuff. And you know, I've been lucky in that sense. But you kind of have quite a romantic notion, I think, when you're training, when you're younger. You think, you know, I want to be on stage at the National, and I want to be at the RSC, and yada yada. And that's great. You know, I always encourage I teach as well. I always encourage my students to have those ambitions and want to do those things. But equally, you've got to make a living, and you've got to, you've got to pay the bills. And if you're lucky enough to be able to call yourself an actor, to be paid to act, you're luckier than an awful lot of people, and so in that sense, I have been very lucky with it all.
So throughout your career, you've worked consistently, haven't you? You're on Hollyoaks, Doctors, Holby City, Emmerdale, Casualty.
There's a lot of medical dramas there. There's a lot of medical dramas.
There's a theme, isn't there? You need to set a few more grannies alight there. Where can I see it?
Yeah. I think it's on YouTube. It's possibly on YouTube if anyone wants to go and see me set an old lady on fire. But I had a couple of scenes with David Heyman, who's one of the great screen actors and stage actors of our generation, Scottish actor, fabulous. I had a couple of scenes with him as well, which was for a new actor just out of drama school, incredible. But yeah, I have been really consistent. I've been really, really lucky with that. I don't really know why. I think we all have imposter syndrome at some point, where we feel like we're just getting away with it. I'm waiting to be found out. I'm waiting for the phone call for them to say, actually, by the way, we've had a meeting. We all kind of feel like that from time to time, and it's very easy, I think, in this crazy time that we live in, to not sort of stop and take stock of how fortunate we are and the opportunities that we've been afforded and the privilege that we have as well. Make no mistake, I'm white middle class. That in itself is a privilege. I was born into that. I can't avoid that. And that's I've been very, very fortunate, and I've worked really hard. It's not, these things don't happen by accident. I wasn't anywhere near the best actor in my year at drama school. By no means. And some people might still think I'm shit, which is fine. But I wasn't by any means the best actor, but I'm the only one that's worked consistently. And I like to think that's down to hard work, and I take my job very seriously. I really do. I aspire to be, as good as my peers, and I aspire to, to kind of use wanky sort of actor terminology. I want to find the truth in the scenario and the scene and the performance and the relationship, and that at its core is what kind of motivates me, is to find that truth and do something interesting with it, for the audience, especially on Hollyoaks, because it affords you the opportunities to do mad things. We have mad storylines, we blow trains up, and we have all manner of crazy stuff. And then we have really hard hitting, important issue-based storylines that, mean something to people and make a difference. And I think my character in the show, and and the show as a whole, to a degree, I think skirts that it's a really nice line between kind of madness and really important stuff, and that's kind of where I fit, I think, and that's a nice place to be. Was there any fear in your industry last year when everything got shut down? You didn't know whether you were going to reopen again or even go back to work again? I don't think anyone knew, did we really? I think everybody worried. We had a few months off, and that was it was worrying, because we didn't know when we were going to go back, and it took a few months. We didn't resume filming until the end of June. Was it June? No, it was later than that. I'm sorry, it was later than that. It was August. What am I saying? Beginning of August, we resumed filming. So we had 3 months off. And they put all the protocol in place, everything 2 meters apart and all that stuff. But yeah, there was a real fear. There was a fear across the whole industry. And that fear has been, it is not ill-founded. I have a lot of friends who work almost entirely in the theatre world. And that's just been decimated. There's been no help for all these freelancers, and it's not just the actors, it's the entire industry. You think of the wig makers and the costume makers and the set designers and the set builders, the sound designers, the techies, the directors, producers, the makeup. This industry is huge and brings in such a huge amount of money to this country, and is integral, not just from an artistic sense. We all need art, and we all, culture and music and spoken word and theatre. These are really, really important, assets and parts of our certainly of this Western society more as much as anywhere else. In the UK, and it's just been decimated. There's been no help. There's been no support. All those. All the independent theatre groups and theatre companies and small, residential theatres, they're fucking gone. Like they might not ever come back now. But some of that is down to how little they're thought of by this government. And some of it is because, this pandemic has just made a mess of things, and continuing drama, soap, and a few bits and pieces have managed to kind of withstand that. And I don't think any of us on the show take for granted how lucky we are to have been working this past year at all, because, like I say, there's a huge number of people out there in my industry that just haven't, and it is really, really brutal.
I've heard that actors need to do their own makeup now because the makeup artists aren't allowed on the set anymore. Are you worried that they won't bring the makeup artists back because they're saving all this money with you doing it yourself?
Not when you see the state of some of the people that have done their own makeup. I don't think makeup artists need to be particularly concerned. Not to blow my own trumpet, but I've done a lot of theatre. I can do my own face, right?
Are you doing a winged eye?
Always, love. Well, you've got to do a winged eye.
Always.
You're not doing a winged eye and a bit of rouge. The fuck are you in it for?
When we used to go out, I used to do a smoky eye. Always a smoky eye with a nude lip.
Definitely always a nude lip, love. Never make it. We've all had to do our own makeup, our own costume. I not pick our costume, but look after everything basically, and carry our makeup bags around and all that sort of stuff. And, it's fine. It's fine. It's what we have to do to keep the show on the road. But yeah, some of the lads, man, you got to feel sorry for some of these lads, especially the younger guys. They're just given the tools and told, there you go, do your face, and bless them.
Do they go, this is Hollyoaks, not RuPaul's Drag Race?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of gone both ways. So I think some people, at the beginning, went a bit too far, and other people just went, fuck it, I can't do this. I'm just not going to wear any makeup at all. So there's definitely some episodes that have gone out where some people have probably not looked quite as perfect as they might normally look.
But you're in HD. The least you could do is put a bit of Fenty on. So I saw on EastEnders that they're like digitally adding in the extras. Is that what they're doing on Hollyoaks, or do you not have the budget?
No, I don't think it's budget. I think it's more time constraints, and I think it's easier to just not have extras at the studio at the moment, because the less people that are coming and going into the building, the better. The less people that are on set, the better. So they've just kind of gone no extras, which it's a shame when you watch. There have been scenes that I've seen, exterior stuff that you would normally see like a busy, vibrant village. That does look, there's no getting away from it. It does look empty, and it does look a bit weird. It does look a little bit, Dawn of the Dead. But like I say, we're filming, and we've done quite a lot of those plate shots for intimate scenes, because I've certainly for myself and for a couple of other guys that are in on-screen relationships, sometimes the writers do write stuff where they're close, they're intimate, and the only way to do that is by locking a frame off, shooting one actor, moving him out, bringing the other guy in, shooting that, and then putting it together in post-production.
So you've been on Hollyoaks for 67 years.
Yeah.
How did you get the audition for that?
I think they put. I think the brief was for a new family. It was for a new northern family, a little bit rough. Shameless was really popular around that kind of time. It had sort of taken hold of things. And also there wasn't a family on Hollyoaks at the time that kind of fitted into that. And yeah, my agent just said, do you fancy it? And I think it's one of the best things I've ever done. It's one of the best decisions I've ever done, was going to that audition. So
your agent was like, they're looking for a rough family and you fit the bill. Yeah. If you ain't a Slater, see you later.
Yeah. Well, the great, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But they weren't sure. Bryan Kirkwood, the exec producer at the time, and his casting department weren't really sure what they wanted in terms of individual personalities. They knew they wanted a family, but they weren't like, right, we want a smart gay son, we want a loud, bolshy, sexy sister. We want, it wasn't outlined. So they had lots of actors there on over a couple of weekends, and they just put people with different groups and just sort of worked out what fit, who fitted with who. And I remember we were the last ones that they wanted to see, and it was myself. Jennifer Metcalf plays Mercedes. Leah Hackett plays Tina. Nicole Barber Lane, Myra McQueen. Gemma Murner, who played Carmel, Claire Cooper, who played my other sister who died a few years ago, whose name has escaped me whilst recording a live podcast. I'm so sorry. But yeah, they kind of put us all together, and we had an inkling that might be their final fit, and it was. And so we all kind of got cast on the same day. We all got cast at the same time, and we all turned up at the same time. And so there was a real kind of sense of real family. Like Jen Metcalfe, who plays Mercedes, like she might as well be my sister. We're that close. I can ring her up in the middle of the night for advice, and she'll help me. And that's just beautiful. That's such a lovely byproduct of a really fun, wacky job, to meet these people.
I stayed with Jen Metcalfe when she lived with Melissa in Liverpool.
Did you?
And we went to Ricky Whittle's leaving party, and I got completely plastered. And when we got home, I passed out on the doorstep.
Not like you.
Like, you can talk. Anyway, so I was passed out on the doorstep, and I remember Jen opening the door, and she's like, "Do you want to come in now?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's saying, "I think it's best you go in the spare room." And I went, No, I want to go with Melissa. So I went into Melissa's room, and she went, "Just go to sleep. Think about what you've done." And I was like, "I'm so sorry, Melissa."
Yeah. We've all had those nights where we've ended up on Jen Metcalfe's sofa. We've all been there.
So what was it like when you started in Hollyoaks? Were you like all starstruck because it was such a big gig, or were you just be like a bit blasé about it?
Yeah, I think that you have that kind of youthful naivety, that kind of confidence that comes with being young. I'd be more concerned now, actually, starting a new job now, and at my old age. Back then, it didn't feel like a. I tell you what felt like a big deal was when I found out that they were going to do a coming of age sexuality story with my character. That was when it hit home that this is important shit. When they were like, right, so your character's going to be gay, and I was like, all right, okay, cool. And he's going to fall in love with his best friend, right? Okay. And straight away you start to think, hang on, like this is 6:30 on Channel 4, and if they're doing something like that, which is just completely based in truth. The researchers and the production team there, and the script department, everybody working in tandem to create something really hard hitting at times, but something that a lot of young men and women, but especially young men would relate to. That's when it felt a little bit daunting and a little bit of pressure, because you want to get it right, and certainly as a straight man myself.
What?
It's very. Sorry, I've just burst the.
What?
I burst the bubble, Leigh. I burst the bubble.
Since when? You've changed. You've changed. Carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, we don't talk about Coventry. But yeah, it was that. It was that's where the pressure comes from. Just a desire to tell a truthful story, and knowing that you're going to be holding a mirror up to a lot of young men that are going through similar things, and don't understand. Maybe not understand is the wrong word, but can't just haven't found their place in the world yet, and seeing that on their television in their front room with their parents, and thinking, oh fuck, that's me. That's me. Maybe I'm gay, but that's huge. That can't be underestimated. The importance of that and the impact of that for so many men of kind of my age group, and it had a real impact. And it's something that I know Hollyoaks and certainly myself are really, really proud of.
Who did you speak to or reach out to get your head in the space for that kind of storyline? Because obviously you've got to handle it quite delicately. So how did you do that? How did you navigate?
Yeah, luckily, as I mentioned before, I did a lot of theatre growing up, and there were a lot of gay guys at the theatre that I knew very, very well. I'd done musicals with, some were directors, so I had a lot of I had gay men that I could ring and go, look, just if can you talk to me about your experience, your journey, your truth. And that's one of the beautiful things about people that work in theatre and in our industry as a whole is. People are very, very generous with their stories and with their experiences. People are, and I'm very, very thankful for that, because they really, really helped and were very open and very, very honest about how difficult it was and how confusing it was, and how we society now there is a plethora of information and books and films and music and actors and celebrities and people who are openly gay, and there's no, there's no hiding that. There's no, there's no secret there that there was, even back in the 90s, we're talking, it was, it wasn't that long ago that it was really, really difficult to come out. So I feel like the John Paul and Craig storyline was quite a seminal moment, I think, in culture, not just gay culture, but culture as a whole, because it was the first time that had been on TV at that kind of time slot, and that's really important that those stories are told. And Hollyoaks continues to tell those stories. Trans issues now we have non-binary actors coming in and telling non-binary stories, and Hollyoaks has always been a very modern, forward-thinking, current, relevant show, and it continues to be so. How
much of yourself do you invest in a character? Like, if someone comes to you with an idea for the character, would you be like, no, that's not what he'd do? Yeah,
I think there has to be a bit of give and take, I think. That's what she said. You lend parts of yourself to the character. It was very, very rare that I would say, no, I'm not doing that, or no, that doesn't fit the character. It's more likely that, okay, I don't think that fits, but how can we mold it? How can we change things? Is there a compromise that we can maybe make? But certainly in the first 5 or 6 years on Hollyoaks, I wasn't experienced enough for a start to have that conversation. You just put your trust in the producers and the writers, and it was. Looking back now, there were some really big scenes and really demanded big performances, and we worked damn hard, and we worked really hard.
But seriously, the storyline obviously resonated with so many people in the gay community. The feelings of having to keep it a secret, being someone's dirty little secret, unrequited love. It's just something that's universal within that community.
But that happens. That happens. That happens. It certainly happened back then, and probably still happens now. In every school, on every street in the world. And that's why these stories need to have a kind of spotlight put on them. I mean, I don't take any credit personally for it. It's always a team effort, and I know that might sound a bit trite and a bit a bit of an uninspiring answer, but it certainly there's never felt like my storyline, or I was a huge part of it, don't get me wrong, but there's a huge ensemble. There was John Paul McQueen's family were involved, and Craig Dean's family were involved, and and then everybody behind the scenes, that had to take the time, the researchers that had to go out and speak to, young gay men and ask those questions. And Bryan Kirkwood, our exec producer at the time, a lot of it was his story. He grew up down in Brighton, and he went to those gay clubs as a young teenager. He went to those gay clubs to see if that was, where he was headed, and he had those experiences and he had those conversations and that coming of age, and so I think because it reflected so heavily on Bryan's past, I think that was partly why it was so successful, was because he put so much into it, and he took real time over every detail, which kind of made our job, even more fun and more interesting. I think
you must have been swarmed with people coming forward saying, you've told my story. That's exactly what happened to me.
Still do.
They still do. Is there any moment that sticks out particular in your mind?
Yeah, I've had that. I've had more so the letters that I've had over the years that I've kept. I've had beautiful letters over the years. Really, some really upsetting ones as well. That men had spent a long time scared and confused and unable to just be who they are, because that's what we're talking about when all's said and done. We're just talking about someone living their truth, they're living the life that they're supposed to live. That's all we're talking about. And because of systemic homophobia and political discourse throughout the up until very, very recently, it was very, very difficult. So some of the letters reflect that and have been very, very difficult to read at times, but equally really, really strong and brave, really brave. And also I've had some funny letters as well. People that said, oh, I was 15 watching Hollyoaks with my mum and dad, and your episode finished, and I went, I'm gay like that, and they were what, and just dropped the bombshell right then. No, I'm pretty sure I'm like John Paul and Craig, which is brilliant, which is, what a wonderful kind of byproduct of drama and storytelling that you can have a real life kind of impact on someone's life. That's fantastic.
So you've left the show 14 times. What was the reason you left the first time?
What was the reason I left the first time? I think it's there isn't one reason why someone leaves a show. I had a really good offer from Emmerdale.
I heard it was because you ran out of old people to set on fire.
I'd burnt them all, actually. We'd run out, physically run out of grandmas for me to burn.
No grandmas, no matches. Just
a pile of corpses. No, I got a lovely offer from Emmerdale to go over there for a couple of years. It was a storyline that had a beginning, a middle, and an end. So I knew that it was only going to run for 18 months, maybe 2 years, which was perfect. So I went over and did that, and then that kind of finished, and I had an amazing time on Emmerdale. What a place to work. So
when you sign up for a TV show like Hollyoaks or Emmerdale, do they tell you all of your storylines up front, or is it like staggered?
No, it's normally you find out very little. You normally only really find out character stuff. They'll tell you more about your character than actually what you're doing, unless it's a really, really, really big, a big thing that they have to kind of make sure you're aware of. But Emmerdale was a kind of time frame. They were like, look, we want to tell this story. A guy comes to the village. His mum and dad are separated. He falls in love with his sister. It's not actually an incest storyline. It doesn't quite get that far, but there was certainly an element of that. It was heading in that direction, and then it's all going to come out in the end that's your dad and that's your brother, and there's going to be fights. And they just made it sound fantastic. So dramatic. And I was going to be playing a mechanic, so that was quite different. Although John Paul is. Quite I hate the word masculine. I hate that word. It's bullshit. But you know what I'm saying. I don't play a feminine, character at all.
John Paul doesn't sit down to take a piss, pass it on.
You could not have put that more beautifully. Thank you. So the opportunity to play a different character was really exciting, and Emmerdale are amazing. The team over there they were fantastic. I had an absolute ball up in Leeds for a couple of years, and it was just great. And then that kind of ended, and I did some more dramas and stuff, and then I think I went into Hollyoaks. I went into Line Pictures for a general meeting, and Bryan was there. I saw Bryan, and he said, "Oh, you're going to come back?" And I hadn't really thought about it, and I said, "Oh, yeah. I mean, if you can write for me again." And he said, "Yeah." So, and then I think a couple of months later, I was back filming, and that was that.
You're like a homing pigeon, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. There's no.
I've got next week off. Yeah. Got any shifts going?
Yeah. Which is, it's been, but look, it's been great, and I don't take it for granted that they've had me back a couple of times now. I like to think I bring something to the show. Which is obviously why they brought me back. But it's been great to be able to go off and do other stuff as well. It keeps things fresh.
How has the show evolved over the years since you started to like the present day?
I'd say it was a sexier show back then.
I was going to say, they used to do like musical episodes and interludes and late night editions and all types of jazz.
There was all kind of stuff. I remember when they first kind of introduced the McQueen girls, they were washing a car in high heels and, little denim shorts and bikini tops covered in soap suds, and things like that, which at the time, was perfect for that kind of that. Hollyoaks fitted in really, really well with that kind of noughties vibe. The kind of lads mags and all that kind of thing. T4, yeah, on a Sunday morning, it was perfect. It was kind of a bit laddie, the humour, but equally, like I said before, Hollyoaks has always told important storylines, but there was a lot more. There was a lot more sex. There was a lot more sex back then, and the show has moved with the times. It really, really has. Some of the young actors, especially on the show right now, are incredible. Like, they are so socially and politically and emotionally more mature than I was when I was that age. We have a young actress called Neve Blackshaw on the show, and another actor called Billy Price. The two of them together, I think these guys are like, I don't know, they're probably 22, 23. I mean, they're young, you know, but fucking hell, the depth of performance, the emotional maturity that these guys have is well beyond their years. And I think a lot of that is to go back to talking about social media and how exposed these people are to things. But equally, the world's changed. You know, the world's changed. Stories have changed. Stories that you can tell that you tell now you couldn't tell back then, and vice versa. You know, you wouldn't tell the stories now that you told back then. Things have changed, and the actors that they have on the show now, I think, reflect that in a really positive way, as does the writing. The writing's changed. You know, we still have comedy and we still have daft storylines. You have to. You know, it's escapism, but it's a much more nuanced. There's a much more nuanced subtlety to the writing, which is reflected in the performances.
So how does social media affect your job now, knowing full well that anyone watching your show can send you a critique or a criticism of what you've just done? It
doesn't really affect me. I'm a little bit older. You know, obviously I read. You can read the odd thing and get a bit bothered by it. But I'm lucky in that I'm a little bit older and I'm able to just turn my phone off. You know, switch my. Close Twitter. You know, if something's bothering you, just I can just turn it off and carry on with my day. It's difficult. It's difficult for the younger generation. It's difficult for our younger actors. They're much more in the spotlight. They're every what they're wearing and what they say, anything they tweet, anything they type, any photo they put on is scrutinized, and there's a lot more pressure. We when we were on the show, Twitter was started when we were on Hollyoaks, and I remember the press office saying to us, don't say anything on Twitter that you wouldn't want on the Daily Mail, on the Mail Online. I just think, growing up, we were afforded a bit more privacy and a bit more anonymity than the youngsters are now, and that's really hard on them. There's a huge amount of pressure, not just to look good, especially for the women, the young girls on the show, and that. But there's a pressure to say the right things, and everything is scrutinised, and that's really difficult because nobody's allowed to make mistakes. You can't make a fucking mistake. This cancel culture that we have now, which I think has a place. I do think has a place. I think if someone is a racist or is transphobic or says something that there is no excuse for, then absolutely they deserve to be chastised for it. But equally, I think sometimes we have to take into account the age of people making these mistakes. And also, the situation that we're in, everything's heightened. Emotions are heightened. Look, we've been locked in our houses, for a fucking year,
Do you feel from your position as a privileged white straight man that it's now just your time to listen?
No, I don't think so. I think it's everybody's. Look, we've all got to do everything we can. I go back to when we're talking about violence against women and men's behaviour, predatory behaviour. Some of the stories that have come out from friends of mine and people that I know on social media that I had no idea about. There's an incredible writer called Melissa Reddy. She's a football writer. She writes for The Athletic. She writes for The Telegraph, the Anfield Wrap. She's one of the leading female journalists right now in sports. She wrote a piece, I think it was for The Independent, about experiences that she'd had, men exposing themselves to her at football matches, and until we say something to our friends, until we say to our male friends, that behaviour, that's not okay. You can't do that. We can't just excuse it. We can't just laugh it off. We can't pretend that it's not as big an issue as it is. We have to be part of the, if we're not part of the problem, we have to be part of the solution. Just, it is as simple as that. You can't, if you're silent, then you're, what are you doing? You're complicit to a certain degree. I'm not saying every man needs to take to the streets, but if you know something or you see something and you do nothing, fuck you. You've got a responsibility. We all have a responsibility. Be that against racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, you name it. We have a responsibility.
So your Twitter account bio says, actor, footy fan, my views, new account. Speaking of being a footy fan, how have these lockdowns affected you?
Oh,
come on, babes.
God,
tell me all about it.
I just feel a real disconnect. Like, football is such a huge part of my life. It's such a huge part of my life. I do podcasts. I do online stuff around football. But yeah, it's just been shit. I've just got nothing else to talk about. All I talk about is football, and if I'm not watching it, I want nothing else to talk. I'm bored. I bore myself, Leigh. I bore myself.
Sometimes you tweet some numbers, and I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" Oh, it must be some football shit.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
So you're a bit of a football slag, and I don't know much about football, but I do know from that Elijah Wood film called Green Street.
You did.
And knowing that you're the baddest bitch in the game, I'm going to ask you a question. Don't tell me no lies.
Come on, man.
Are you an affirm?
Am I?
And if so, where do you meet?
Can I come along, and what's the dress code?
Well, I have been wearing a tracksuit the whole way through lockdown, which I'm sure would look absolutely lovely.
I'm sure you'd be perfect. Could you pull the hat down a little bit further? There you go.
Is that it? And I got a beard.
Honestly, you'll fit straight in. I'm not even sure football firms exist anymore. I don't think that side of because football firms were as much about, genuinely, when they first started, was as much about the fashion and the trainers as it was about, kind of rivalry.
Can I just pause you a second? I've never seen you light up like this until we started talking about football. You were like, yes, let me tell you all about
Right, now you've got me on the subject I like talking about. No, I don't even think football firms exist anymore. Football. There's no place for violence in football. There's no need for it. The classic kind of, certainly in Liverpool and Manchester, it was all about the fashion. It wasn't about the fighting, because Liverpool and Manchester, a little history lesson for you. Back in the 70s and 80s, Liverpool and Manchester were the two clubs, and Everton as well, and a couple of others, Leeds and Spurs, but mainly Liverpool, were involved heavily in European matches abroad. We'd go to France and Spain and Italy especially, and the fellas would pick up the brand new Diodoras and the Adidas trainers and the Fred Perrys and the football gear.
I do love the Fred Perry.
Mate, honestly, but the football fans were, fashion-wise, were hugely important, because they'd come back from these away trips wearing all this clobber, and then you'd walk down the street in Manchester, and a man could be like, "Yo, where'd you get them trainers from?" Italy. And all of a sudden, there's this subculture of fashion that exists within football, which has never gone away, really. Football fashion culture has never gone away. Certainly in Merseyside, and it's a fascinating part of our history.
Got to make sure your shoes are wiped clean, though, don't you?
Yeah, essentially, you got to have your box fresh Adidas on.
So now's the time to start wrapping this up. You're back on Hollyoaks again.
Yeah, that's enough.
When's the next leaving day? When are you next taking a gap year from Hollyoaks?
I don't know, man. I don't. It's not that I'm not ambitious. I just don't think that far ahead. I don't think you can think that far ahead, and so you certainly can't think that far ahead in these times. You can't really plan what you're doing. Next week. Well, at the moment, you probably can plan what you're doing next week. Fuck all. But I'm having a really, really good time on the show. I'm really enjoying it. I've just had I've been having a long on-screen relationship, which has been really exciting to film, a domestic violence storyline. I've got great mates on the show. We've just got a brand new producer in, Lucy Allen, who is just wonderful. Fantastic new direction for the show. Having a female producer as well is brilliant and exactly what I think we need right now. So yeah, there's just there's not really any reason to leave. I'm very happy in Liverpool. All is good.
So you're not going to do like a Ricky Whittle and fuck off to LA?
Ricky Whittle. I tell you what, man. Ricky Whittle, nothing but respect, man. He's worked so hard on his career. He has worked so hard to get where he is. He's one of the hardest working actors you'll ever meet. It is not an accident that Ricky Whittle is doing so well in LA. He is really hardworking, and I have nothing but respect and love for that guy.
I collapsed drunk at his leaving party.
Oh, Leigh. Is there a soap actor you haven't collapsed drunk on? Is probably more of a pertinent question.
It's like Pokemon. I got to catch them all, ain't I? So what's our plans when we get out of lockdown? Are we going to go travelling? Have we got any new projects in the line? What are we going to be doing, babes? Tell me everything.
I'd love to. I'd need a holiday, man. I'm so pale. I'd like to do on holiday. I've been writing a lot. Myself and my friend Greg have been doing a lot of writing. We're trying to get some screenplays done, trying to get some scripts, made, film some stuff. That's something we're both really, really keen to do alongside Hollyoaks. I've got really heavily into my fitness as well. I've been, despite the bottle of red wine I've drunk during this chat, I've been.
Mine's Bailey's coffee. I'm a professional. Christmas. It's Christmas. Fucking do it.
Christmas in a mug. There's only 2 times you're allowed to drink Baileys, and that is Christmas time and on a plane. Anywhere else.
And lockdown.
I'll give you, okay, maybe. Yeah, lockdown's a free-for-all. There's no rules.
I ran out of milk, though.
Yeah. I know, you're not supposed to have it on your cornflakes.
Said who?
So I've been getting heavily into my fitness, so I'm going to kind of carry on with that and see where that kind of takes me. I'm doing a lot of weightlifting and a lot of HIIT stuff, and just trying to better myself. Trying to kind of. I think it's given us all a lot to think about, hasn't it? This last year, personally, professionally, how we treat people, how we treat ourselves, how kind we are to ourselves, how kind we are to other people, and I think these are thoughts and feelings and emotions that I want to carry on out of lockdown. I think it's important that if we've got some perspective, if nothing else, we've all had time to think. And I think we owe it to ourselves and we owe it to our fellow man to be better people when we come out of lockdown. And I include myself in that, to just be kinder, I think.
Oh, that's very cute of you.
I'm a cute guy.
Not anymore, bitch. Right. Thanks for doing this, James.
Mate, it's been a pleasure.
We need to catch up when this is all over.
Yeah, I'd love that. It's been a real pleasure, man.
Speak to you later, babes. Bye.
God bless. Bye.
It's Leigh, bitch.
Come get the tea from me. LVB.